Welcome everyone to today's webinar. I know everyone's just still kind of logging in, so I will give it just maybe half a minute, and then we're going to get started. So, welcome again to today's webinar. This is the fourth in our series of the Metal Project, which is focused on registered apprenticeship programs across occupations in the casting and forging industry. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. We will be recording today's session, and the full series of these webinars is going to be available. The ones we've done in the past and the ones that we will do in the future will also be there on the Metal YouTube channel, and I'll drop a link to that in the chat so that you can see our past webinars. Speaking of the chat, I want you to note that all the controls in WebEx are at the bottom of your screen, and you can access the chat and the participants in today's webinar on the right side of the screen. There's a little speaking bubble icon and then the person icon respectively for those two functionalities. And then on the far left side of the screen, there's a tiny little bubble with a CC for closed caption, and you can toggle that function on and off by clicking that icon. You will also find a toggle for muting and unmuting your microphone and video camera at the bottom, and a function for raising your hand to ask questions. And next to that, there's also a reaction button. We ask that everyone keep their microphones muted. If you raise your hand, we will call on you so that you can ask questions, and we would love it if this session could be as interactive as possible. With that, I am going to introduce our first speaker, Lucinda Curry from IACME, or the Composites Institute, and she will share a little bit more about the Metal Project and what we hope to accomplish with that project. So I'm going to see the agenda on the screen. Sorry, Jessica. You can see that we're going to talk today about, we're going to give you a metal overview, which is going to be Lucinda, who I just introduced, and then we're going to highlight an employer, Goodwin. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Lucinda, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. Welcome, everyone. So glad that you could be on this webinar today. Just want to tell you very quickly a little bit of background about METAL if you've not been on previous webinars. METAL does stand for Metallurgical Engineering Trades Apprenticeship and Learning. It is an initiative funded by Department of Defense, who has deemed it critical to our supply chain in U.S. manufacturing. As some of you may know on this call, metal castings are used to produce 90% of all durable manufactured goods and nearly all machinery that's used to make other things in manufacturing. So it really is, castings and forgings are both critical to the U.S. on both the commercial side and the Department of Defense. The United States found years. So this is a concern. It's something that we've are doing with this program to build the workforce back up, to get more people involved in metal casting and forging, to have more interest in metallurgy and other material sciences. So as you can see here, the mobile casting market is valued in the billions and is growing. So it's workforce is not going down because there's no work there. Definitely work there, and it is more high tech, cleaner, and nicer working conditions with robotics and automation. So we're very excited to talk today about apprenticeship and how that can help build the workforce and to help us reach the DoD's 30-year plan to build more ships, as well as the Air Force and the Navy and the Army are all involved in this project. But on the commercial side as well, it's just a necessary workforce, and we're excited to be here. So next. Do a real quick slide. Like I said, the workforce has been reducing in the foundry workforce. We're trying to turn that Titanic around. Next. And we're doing that through METAL. So METAL is an industry-led national initiative. So glad that there's so many people on the call today from industry. We are here to help and want to work with you to build out your workforce, to help you to secure more contracts and to build your business. As I said, we are supported by the Department of Defense, specifically by the industrial base for analysis and sustainment. So build that industrial base manufacturers to meet the needs of our nation. And a great quote here from Dr. Matt Graber. He is the Technical Director of Metallurgy and Manufacturing on the project. And as he says, the shrinking supply chain for critical defense materials demands an immediate response. We must build a modern workforce, technologically adept and capable of meeting the demands of our defense industry with efficiency and innovation. So the main reason that we're here today is to talk about this, but to also talk about how and why these resources that are available through this metal initiative with Goodwin Industries, who is a great leader from across the pond in the UK and has wonderful expertise in apprenticeship and can talk about how they do it and why they do it and why it's so good for their industry. But we are, through this project, purchasing curriculum that they use and are going to be excited to make it available under this project, as well as all the good work that JFF, Jobs for the Future, our partner who is putting on this webinar, is supplying with development directly with companies of how to build their internal training programs, whether it be registered or non-registered apprenticeship. So again, glad to be here and looking forward to answering any questions at the end. I'll turn it back over to Melissa.
Thanks, Lucinda. And it is my great pleasure to introduce to you today's speaker and the company Goodwin. Speaking for Goodwin is going to be Nat Jellyman. She is the training manager and safeguarding lead for Goodwin, and she was one of the original core members of the training center team, which started back in 2013 when the apprenticeship program was created. She has over 15 years of training experience, making her the perfect candidate for a training manager when the Goodwin Engineering Training Company was set up. So Goodwin Engineering Training Company is GETC. If you hear that acronym, that's what that means. And I also just want to note for everyone on the call today that at this particular company, when they say engineering, they mean apprentice. And so that's just one of the little differences that you might note in terms of your understanding of the Goodwin program. An apprentice in this English company is an engineer, which is wonderful. Natalie has both an understanding of business management and law, as well as STEM curriculum, so she can properly assist students that need help. And the core team at the GETC are always on hand to ensure that students are best prepared for work and contributing to a functioning industrial company like Goodwin. And so to introduce Goodwin, we have a short video to share, and then we'll just hand directly over to Nat. Thanks, Jessica.
In 1883, Ralph Goodwin and his sons established an iron foundry and general engineering business in Hanley, Stoke-on-Trent, UK. Today, under the Goodwin family, the company is renowned for delivering state-of-the-art precision engineering products and services to a global client base. Our products have revolutionized operations across a diverse range of markets, such as our suite of valves for the oil and gas industry, submersible pumps for the mining sector, and investment casting plasters for the jewelry market. Our engineers create the tools to tackle real-world issues, such as the energy transition. Our patent-protected fire extinguishing agent is specifically for use on lithium-ion battery fires. We manufacture extreme performance plastics using patented methodology and retaining some trade secrets. These plastics can outperform metallics and ceramics in many applications, such as semiconductor fabrication and aerospace. We are an experienced expert in supplying precision components within the defense markets, as well as to the nuclear new build and decommissioning markets globally. Our high-performance radar surveillance systems and equipment have been installed at some of the largest and busiest airports in the world, including Heathrow, Zurich, and Abu Dhabi. We're passionate about investing in the development of our colleagues. Our bespoke apprenticeship training scheme ensures we consistently have highly skilled, knowledgeable and ambitious individuals throughout the business, helping to drive it forwards. Goodwin has been premium listed on the main market of the London Stock Exchange since 1958. Our growth has been fueled exclusively by continual reinvestment of profits, with no need to raise additional funds on the market. Over the last 20 years, Goodwin has generated a total shareholder return in excess of 5,000%. We understand that profit shouldn't come at the expense of environmental and social responsibility. That's why we've invested in multiple renewable projects to reduce our carbon emissions, in addition to planting 500,000 trees in order to achieve our carbon neutral target by 2035. We are proud of our heritage, but equally excited about the future. We believe in the power of collaboration, innovation, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. We're a company built for the future, and we invite you to join us on this journey.
Thanks for playing that, Jessica. And now Nat, sorry.
Welcome, welcome everybody. We've decided that we would run our own apprenticeship team, and that was because we wanted the best engineers that we could possibly get. So if we have the first slide, you'll see what Goodwin International was in 1883, all those years ago. And it's very, very different to what it is now. It's that looks a very small factory, but at the time it was a very large factory. If we turn over again to Goodwin International, you'll see the inside of what Goodwin International was, again, all those years ago. And we had lots of engineers that did very, very well. But as we've gone through the years, you'll see Goodwin Steel Castings on the next slide of what they were. They were very, very small at the time. And we have grown immensely over the years. But whilst we've grown immensely, that's meant that we need a lot more people. And where do we get those highly skilled engineers from? And we realised very, very quickly that we needed to grow our own engineers. They were the best way to get engineers. But what we did find was the local colleges were unable to support us in the high level and the standard of apprentices that we wanted. So as we look at Goodwin International now, and also Goodwin Steel Castings, they've grown massively. And we now have coloured pictures as opposed to the black and white ones as well. But what that meant is, as we moved into the bigger factories, there was a lot more jobs. There was a lot more roles that needed to be filled. And what we wanted to do was make sure that we went back to basics. And going back to basics meant that we actually needed to deliver an apprenticeship ourselves, because the college, unfortunately, all of our local colleges couldn't support what we were after. We're after multiple engineers every single year with all of our orders that are coming in. So we decided it was best as a company to deliver a level 2 qualification in the workshop and a level 3 qualification in the classroom. So just to give a bit of an understanding, the workshop qualification is all very much hands-on, getting to grips with the machines, with the hand tools that you would use. And in the classroom, it's very much underpinning that knowledge, gaining the maths experience, which is what you can gain from all of our curriculum. before all of our apprentices start, we put a lot of time and effort into them, and we've had to learn this over the years. This isn't something that we came up with straight away. So we had to learn this over the years, and we've found very much that the more we put into our apprentices, the more we've managed to get out of them. So before they start with us, we invite them in multiple times into our training centre. We have half-day sessions with them. We get them to attend mornings with us so that they get to know the staff, they get to gain a better understanding of our company before they even start. And that underpinning seems to really be what makes a good apprentice for us. So before they start as well, we get them to attend a medical, and we also get them to bring all their certificates in. So we get them to do all that administration before they start. And we also have an interview with every single apprentice and find out what information we need to know about them so that we can best support them in everything that they're doing. And sometimes those can be tough conversations. They can be the information that things have gone on at home and has caused issues. But if we know about that information, if we've broke down those barriers with our apprentices, we get the best out of our apprentice. So it might be very time consuming at the start, but we gain that better apprentice. We gain that better all-rounded person. So as we go on to the next slide, that growth has been driven massively. We absolutely go back to basics in the classroom, and we make sure, unfortunately for us in England, and I don't know if this is the same for yourselves, engineering is not taught in schools as it used to be. So we've made sure that we have really gone back so that every single apprentice gains a full understanding, and they all start off at the same level. They all get that information about engineering, about how to start off as an engineer. So they've all got that base level for when they go out on site. We also, within our company, we like to make sure that everyone is fully equipped before they go on site. So we have our apprentices 5 days a week. We have them 3 days for underpinning all of the classroom knowledge, and then we have them 2 days in our workshop. And the people that come up for our workshop are very much our machinists, our area specialists. So again, we're not buying people in, we're using our people who are the specialists in our area. As we go over to continued investment into our people, you can see there slightly our workshop, and we've over a period of time made sure that we have upgraded our workshop, because at one point our workshop was very similar to how the engineering world used to be, and we've brought it into the current world. So Thursdays and Fridays, our skilled machinists come in and they are teaching our apprentices. But what that also does is, as a business, that is giving us an insight into those young people. So what are those apprentices' skills? And every week for 12 months, our machinists who come up every single Thursday and Friday see those apprentices. So they see that progression as well. They see, are they going to be good on a machine? Are they going to be good at welding? So we're absolutely able to give all of our apprentices the best possible start, because we've been able to find out what they're good at, what they're interested in, and we can also see that progress. And that is absolutely the key to what has made our apprenticeship scheme successful along the way. It's not been easy. We've had trials and tribulations as we've gone, like many of you will, but gaining that knowledge, underpinning that knowledge for your apprentices, and first and foremost, getting to know your apprentices. If you can get to know your apprentices, know what they're good at, what they are interested in, and break down those barriers, because lots of young people nowadays, they do have anxiety and they do have lots of other issues. If you can start to break down those barriers and make sure that you've given them a calm and comfortable workplace, which some of them won't always have at home, if you can make that a safe environment at work, you're halfway there. So as we go on, we've got the future workforce. We do put our apprentices all over our sites. So whilst they're on site, we do lots of regular reviews. Once they've spent 12 months with us, we put them out on site. But for the first 3 months, we make sure that every single month we have regular catch-up meetings with them. We have regular mentor meetings with them, because it can be a massive, massive change from being in a place that they've been in for 12 months, which is very similar to school, but not the same as school. And then all of a sudden they're in that workplace. And lots of young people find the jump, and it's a very big jump for them, quite hard to understand. And lots of people nowadays don't like change. So we found that over a period of time, if we can constantly keep reassuring them, have those regular meetings, have those regular reviews and those catch-ups, we can iron out any issues straight away. We can get that sorted. And again, some of the things that young people think is a real big issue, actually to us, because we've got lots of years experience, is something very small that we can fix in 5 minutes. So if you can break down those barriers with your apprentices, and you know your apprentices so well because you've put the effort in, you'll get that better person. Of late, I've seen multiple of our apprentices around the site, and it does make me feel quite old. I will say that I am now seeing them get married, buy houses, have babies. So I don't know if that's old on my part or their part, but they are still with us and they thank us for so much. Nothing is too much trouble. It can be quite hard for an apprentice, if they've got an issue or they've got a concern, to come and raise it with someone they don't know. Because we're always on our sites, they come to us. They'll shout across the shop as well. So if you're trying to go in quietly to one of the areas, that doesn't happen, I'm afraid, because the apprentices do know that you're there and do find you. But as we continue to tailor our apprenticeship, we have found that making sure we're supporting our mentors, our support staff, if we support them, we can also then make sure they're supporting our apprentices. So we very, very clearly make sure that they know if they've got any issues, if they've got any concerns, they know where to come to. And sometimes it can be the trainer, the mentor, the coaches. It's them that can contact and say, actually, I've noticed this apprentice isn't right. And if your staff are comfortable in saying that, you can get to the problem quicker, in turn meaning the apprentice has the issue that's sorted much quicker, and our retention rate is 95%. So with regards to the reviews, they can be tough at times, especially if apprentices are not doing as well as we expected. But having those conversations can benefit us in the long run. So if we go on to providing hands-on experience, we very much to make sure that all of our apprentices go in the workshop. All of our girls, all of our boys are in the workshop every single Thursday and Friday. And those that actually start off not sure of the machines, they think the machines are really, really big. Some of them haven't seen some of our apprentices. Our apprentices, unfortunately, don't see the size of the machines and the size of engineering because they're not able to see it in school anymore. We get lots of things that unfortunately stop us nowadays showing apprentices what they would have been shown lots of years ago. So where we wouldn't have thought anything of walking our apprentices around the factories because health and safety was very minimal all those years ago, it's obviously increased now, which is brilliant to make it a safe working environment, but it's also put a lot of constraints on the schools. So again, if we can make sure all of the apprentices within the first few weeks see the size of the, see all of our workshops and see the different areas, you're again breaking down those barriers. And it's breaking down those barriers that we have found have been the best for us. It's not always easy to break down the barriers, especially with young people, but if you can spend the time with them, it's really, really helpful. So to ensure our team is equipped with real life and working skills, we do move some of our apprentices around the group. And what we've also found is some of our apprentices leave school thinking they definitely want to be a welder, they're going to be the best welder there is. But actually, when they come to us, their skill set is far better as a machinist or as a CAD designer. So again, we pick those skills up and we will have those conversations with our apprentices very, very early on. We are not afraid to ask them to do work placements in different areas. And again, we've also found that perceptions are not always what the apprentice expects. Their perceptions, because of what they've seen on the TV, can unfortunately be very different to what the real working world is. So we've had lots of changes, but what we have found out works best for us is we get all apprentices to do a level 3 engineering qualification. And once they've done those 12 months with us, we then decide mutually between ourselves, the tutors, the apprentice themselves, where is best fitted for them. And we will get them to do placements in those areas before we actually permanently place them. And again, it's breaking down those barriers so that they fully understand what the job role entails. Because unfortunately in England, the careers support that young people get isn't where we would expect it to be. So to make sure that we cover that as a company, we've made sure that we as a whole group and as a whole company, we make sure we give them those placement areas, we give them that time, and we give them that reflection time as well. It can be quite hard, it can be quite a change for them, but as long as we are making sure that they're fully supported, we've done really, really well with our workforce over the years. As we go over the page to meet the demands and the challenges that we face, recruiting the right people has been really, really hard for us. And whilst our government is saying we need lots of apprentices, they don't always support us in that, unfortunately. So we do lots of careers fairs within the schools. We do lots of presentations to young people in the local schools, explaining what engineering is and trying our best to break down those barriers. And again, it's getting the local communities to understand what engineering is, because engineering is not art, which is unfortunately what lots of young people think. And it's certainly not playing computer games as well. So we deliver presentations to schools 3 years before they actually finish, so that we can start sowing that seed and apprentices can start to gain an understanding and decide if what they want or not. One thing that we have done a lot of with young people is case studies, and we've got our older apprentices to come in and deliver talks about their experiences. I think one of them said it was a harsh reality check, I think is what one of them said. So what they thought it was going to be leaving school wasn't what it turned out to be, but they actually said they wouldn't change it. It was exactly what they needed. And whilst they found it very hard to adapt, they're glad they did, and they're glad that they had the support to stick with it, because they're now one of our top engineers and they're traveling all over the world. But again, it was making sure they'd got that support, and they did understand that they could do it with encouragement. And unfortunately, what we found in England is a lot of young people don't actually get the support from parents. So we found at times we were supporting in that role to make sure that they understood they were worthy of an apprenticeship, they were worthy to be on the course, and they were also worthy to be given a chance. And once we managed to break down those barriers, the self-esteem and the confidence in some of these young people is absolutely brilliant. And when you can see them years later, whilst it might make me feel old, it's very, very nice to see that they are getting somewhere and they did stick with it. And that's down to the support that we were able to give them as a company. Lots of different support that we've put in. And one thing I will say is our government says that every single apprentice has to have the same support. One thing I can very, very clearly say is I don't think any of our apprentices have had the same support. Every single apprentice is different. Every single apprentice's needs are different. Their home life is different. And it's very much making sure that your team has got the right tools, have got the right skills to be able to deal with each apprentice individually. And it's understanding that sometimes, whilst the government may say you've got to treat them all the same, that doesn't always work. Some will need more support than others, and some will need it at different times to others as well. And it's making sure that your team is very flexible, has a great understanding of what apprentices need. And one thing that we found just recently is a lot of our staff have been going on mental health courses. So it's also making sure that your staff and your team are up to date with everything that's going on in your local areas, in your local communities, and what the struggles are in your areas, so that you can fully support all those apprentices and make sure that your retention rates stay healthy, you keep your apprentices healthy. And that's been a big thing for us. It's been a big learning curve, but in it being a big learning curve for us, we've got the better apprentice, and we've managed to keep lots of our apprentices as well. Some of our apprentices now are just about to take on directorship roles. So they've been with us for 13, 14 years, and they're about to look at going into the next phase. So they've worked the way up. They've literally worked from the bottom all the way up to the top of the ladder, and they're about to start sitting at that higher management level. And again, that is down to the hard work, the effort, the training, the mentoring. It's not easy to have an apprentice at times, but it's rewarding once you get them where you need them to be within the company. I know I've spoke a lot to everyone there. So has anyone got any questions at all?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nat. Appreciate that. And I really like the evolution of the pictures too, from where you were and where you are now. We do have a few questions in the chat. I'm gonna kind of pass it over to Melissa here to kind of facilitate some of the chat questions, and then also feel free, audience, to continue to put questions in the chat, raise your hand, come off mute. We have a wonderful resource here live with us today, so let's take advantage.
Thanks, Jessica. And thank you, Nat. I have learned so much. This is incredible. Your whole training programs is just completely human-centered. And with that human-centered design, I'm sure that's what's getting you to that 95% retention rate I heard you say. So with the questions in the chat, I'll start with Karen, who asked, is there a difference between the age groups in terms of their commitment, the leadership, follow through, comprehension, etc.? And sort of a follow-up to that, do you make adjustments for younger apprentices versus older apprentices?
Yes, there is. We've found that apprentices who have come straight from school, they are still in that learning mentality. So we do get more from those, whilst they may still be very childlike at times. I think it's fair to say they are still in that. I need to learn, I need to gain an understanding, I must hit those work deadlines. If they're an older apprentice, oh, deadlines don't matter. I can do it when I please. I'll do this first. So we have found that having a younger apprentice may be harder work to get the childlike mentality out of them, but we get far more productive assignments from them, and we get better assignments from them than if they're older, because sometimes if they're older, they fell into bad habits, and they like to do it their way. Whereas when they're younger, it's very much they're still learning, they're still after that guidance. So you can coax them more into your way of thinking, your company ethos, your company commitments, and it's much easier to mold an apprentice into what you need straight from school.
Thanks for that. I hope that answers your question, Karen. And if not, please feel free to raise your hand and come off of mute. I'm going to go to Bill's question. He asks, is your classroom instruction taught online or in person or both, or is there a hybrid? This is a great question. I'm also curious because a lot of national companies in the United States want to have a similar curriculum for all of their apprentices, whether they're in, the East Coast or the West Coast. And so there's this kind of trend to go online, but with the types of training that you're talking about with engineering and casting and forging, that makes it very difficult. So just in terms of your classroom instruction, can you speak to that a little bit?
So with our company, they are very clear in we don't work from home. We are always in the office, and the apprentices are always in the classroom. They very much want to make sure that if an apprentice is struggling, they're not sat behind a camera, not asking that question. So we are lucky that we've got a brilliant facility here. They've all got their own desks, they've all got their own computers. But we do, whilst it can be online, our directors are very clear in they want that old style learning of face to face, and they want to be able to go round, and as they walk through the company, they want to be able to see those apprentices, they want to be able to speak to them. I understand that may not work for every company, but we're lucky that it does work for us, and they're in work 5 days a week. They are in our training centre 5 days a week.
Incredible. And then Mike asked, he says 95% retention is impressive. I was also impressed. Do you know what your retention rate was prior to implementing the apprenticeship program?
I don't, I'm afraid. That's since I've been taking over. I know that the issue we had before was we were using a college, and we weren't getting the standard of education that we wanted, I think is probably the best way to phrase it.
Ah. And then how many apprentices do you hire annually? And is it difficult to fill the apprenticeship openings?
So it's not hard to fill the apprenticeship openings at all. We have roughly around 500 applications and we take on 30 apprentices each year.
Wow.
So we do a 3-phase recruitment process. And what they do is they sit an assessment for us so that we can gain an understanding of what their maths level's like, what their English level's like, and also mechanical principles, which is very much problem solving. And we find, unfortunately, in England that mechanical principles and problem solving is the one that's less. And that's because our school curriculum don't actually cover as much of that anymore. But that's something that we're still really, really interested in. If they pass that assessment, they then go through to a first interview, which is with myself and one of my other members of teaching staff. If they pass that section, then they go through to a final interview, and that is with Matthew Goodwin, Goodwin being in the name there, and also one of our board directors. So it's not an easy recruitment process, but they're very, very keen on making sure that we get the right people for our company.
Incredible. So we don't have any other questions in the chat. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask just by coming off of mute?
Sure, I'd like to, Melissa. So Natalie, I have had the opportunity to visit there. It's a wonderful, wonderful place, wonderful company, very rural out around it, not like in a big city. So what do you think, for our listeners is that key that you've got 500 people trying to get into your company? Here, it seems it's sort of the opposite. It's really hard sometimes for companies. They might have, 5 openings or technician openings, we'll call it. And, they might get 2 applicants for those 5 jobs, or no applicants, and they have to keep putting it out and putting it out. What is different, that you all have done? I know you go and talk to what we would call middle schoolers, even the lower grades in the high school to try to get the interest up. But is there something else about your culture as a company that you have that much interest in a rural setting?
I think it's very fair to say if you'd have asked us about applications 13, 14 years ago, we wouldn't have had that many applications. We'd have probably had about 50 applications for the 30 roles that we've got. That's very much over the years been a snowball effect. And once you've got that brand name, I guess, that you've got a good apprenticeship going, it's someone tells their friend who tells their friend who tells their friend who tells their friend. And it's very much everyone who comes to us, when you say to them, why have you chosen us? Oh, well, my friend works for you and they absolutely love it. And it's been very, very hard to build that reputation. But I feel like in the last 3 or 4 years, we've managed to get there.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I do like, that your apprenticeships, unlike here, they have to choose an occupation. Usually, you have to be a machinist or a welder or a caster or a forger operator, a heat treater. Where yours is wide that first year, they get to experience all around the plant. We could certainly do that here. That's allowable. And then let them choose based on your openings and based on their interest. Because like you said, people change their mind. They might think they're going to love something and then decide, no, I really like this other better. Also, you have great quality apprenticeships. And I we've even met Liam, who's in the sales department. But he had to go through everything so that he saw it all. So when he's, bidding on jobs and contracts, that comes into play. That's what's so interesting about the way you do your apprenticeship. And I think what we could learn so much from is to not pigeonhole people early on, but to allow them to experience the whole realm of the company and then work, more directly on that other second year or third year of the apprenticeship, on the more direct path, after they've seen it all, so to speak.
I'd love to add to that, and just from a JFF perspective, as Becky's going to mention in a minute, we offer industry intermediary support in establishing a registered apprenticeship program. And in the United States, just exactly as Lucinda, you mentioned that, the apprentice has to kind of choose their occupation first. And a lot of companies have turned to a program that we call the industrial maintenance technician. It's a very broad curriculum. It's a stackable apprenticeship so that they can kind of do that one first. And it teaches them some really foundational skills in manufacturing across the board. So they'll learn a little bit of welding and a little bit of electronics and maybe a little bit of CNC or some type of machining, some tech math and some foundational skills, so that if they decide, hey, machining is really for me, then they can kind of stack into a machining apprentice after they finish their industrial maintenance technician program. So I would just suggest and or recommend the IMT program for anyone who's interested in kind of a starter apprenticeship program. And that's just from my perspective.
Right, that would be a good one. Becky had
yeah.
a good question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Becky.
Oh, I just wanted, I think we're going to lead into all the resources available through Metal. So I just wanted you all, Lucinda and Nat, to talk about these resources that you have developed and you are developing. They're going to be made available because they're such a valuable resource that companies are going to be able to take advantage of.
I think it's really important to know with the resources as well, that whilst the resources are there, it's really, really important to use the resources as your aid. So that's your basis. And then from the knowledge that is within your company, you can build so much on that resource and take it and use it with your apprentices, but very much build on it. Use that as your base and your sort of starting area, and then you can build on it for your apprentices and to suit your company, and you can adapt it for your company so much.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, those resources are going to be available through Metal, and what the resources entail are modules for related training for the technical instruction piece. And there are modules in casting, in quality, in metallurgy, in CAD/CAM, machining, welding. I mean, it really is a whole host of curriculum that they've written, and that's going to be available as slide presentations that companies can use directly in their training, or that they could assign, for the apprentices to do on their own and to go through the slides. But it would be best if a company does it, like Goodwin's doing it, in a classroom setting. And but there's also other resources that are going to be available, and that's on the checkoff side of an apprenticeship, on the related OJT, on the job training, as we would call it here, what she's calling their workshop training, where they actually go on the job, do demonstrate different pieces of their training. So not just the related training, but the checkoffs. And as Natalie said, both of those resources can be used as a foundation and can be customized, with JFF's help to develop an internal training program particular to each company's processes, products, equipment here in this country. But it really is all foundational, and the foundational piece is the same wherever you are. There's basic foundations to each one of these occupational areas.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we have one last question that was in the chat, and I think it was answered by Melissa in the chat. But if you do want some more, we can follow up maybe offline on that. We have contact information that will be given out. Why don't we move forward quickly with Becky on similarly that same topic, following through on what Metal can do for you.
Sure. Thanks you all again for joining us today. I have the privilege of talking about all the great resources available through the Metal Project. As Lucinda said, Jobs for the Future is a partner on this project, and Jobs for the Future is a nonprofit. And we're based in Boston, but we have people all over the country, and we do all workforce and education work. So our part of the Metal Project is to help companies build out apprenticeship programs and other work-based learning. So you can go to the next slide. So we call ourselves, Jobs Future, we call ourselves an intermediary for a lot of our projects, which means we sort of connect the dots for companies. And through this project, for Metal especially, we do try to help companies connect the dots when it comes to work-based learning and apprenticeship. We meet them where they are. We talk to companies about what's your biggest pain point, how can we help, and then start bringing the puzzle pieces together in terms of what is your work process and how can we build it and what could you use for related training and who are the partners out in the community that can help you and bringing those projects together. So there's a lot of the technical assistance is really valuable. All of our experts on the team who can talk to you guys about how to put together a program, that's really valuable. But we do also have some funding available to help. Next. So these are some of the resources available to industry through the Metal Project. All of it's free. As Lucinda mentioned, there are resources that are available in terms of training already from metalforamerica.org, which is the website. Somebody can put the website in the link in the chat for me. You can register on that site for the Metal program, and there's some online curriculum that's already been developed. And then there's another program called ACE, which is America's Cutting Edge, which focuses more on machining. And there's a lot of free curriculum, free training available through that. And that training can be used for anybody at your company in any kind of program, any way you want. And then there are also some boot camps available all over the country that are available in conjunction with this training. Once you take the training, you're invited to a boot camp, and there's machining ones through ACE, and there's casting and forging boot camps available through the Metal program. This program is growing all the time. So you can head to Pennsylvania where the boot camps have already been running, or they'll be coming to your state soon, hopefully. So in terms of the apprenticeship program, as I said, lots of free technical assistance. All it takes is a phone call to just start the process, and then we start bringing the pieces together and help you develop a program of your own or partner with another group in your community. They might have a program of their own that you can just join. So, and we do have some funding available, and which I'll talk about in a minute. But I do want to mention the internship program. There's another partner on this project called the Foundry Educational Foundation. Did I get that right? They are focused on internships. So if you are interested in getting an internship started at your company, give me a call or send Lucinda a message, and we'll connect you with the right people. The next. So as I mentioned, we do have some funding available to help new programs and expanding programs. If you have an existing program and you want to expand it, you want to improve it, send me a note. These applications are taken on a rolling basis and awarded on a rolling basis. And it's a really generous program, and it's pretty easy to apply. It's up to $24,000 per company, up to $4,000 per participant, and it can cover all sorts of things like training equipment, tools, supplies, mentor training, the RTI from a local school or an online provider, anything but wages for the apprentices can be covered by this incentive funding. So it has to be a company. It's not the occupation so much, but it is the company. It has to be involved in casting, forging, or plate rolling. So send me a note, and we're happy to have a call. And as I said, we're taking applications on a rolling basis. So Jim asked, where in PA is this being utilized again? Right now, the hubs in Pennsylvania are State College and Erie. Both of those schools have offered boot camps, but we're helping companies all over the state. We're doing some of it ourselves, and then we have a couple Pennsylvania partners that are involved in our project as well. So if you are in Pennsylvania and you want help, send me a note, and I can help you or I can connect you. Can nonprofits apply for funding for curriculum? Probably, as long as it's curriculum that's related to casting and forging. So send us a note, and we'd be happy to have a call about it. Virginia Tech, yes. I don't know. Lucinda can talk more about what other schools, but she's constantly talking to other colleges around the country and getting them involved in metal. Do you want to say a little bit about that, Lucinda?
Sure. Yes. We do have an open application type process. We are working primarily with FEF certified schools, Foundry Educational Foundation schools, which do have casting already available in their training programs for the engineers. But we're wanting to bring that down to the apprenticeship and technician levels as well with our boot camps and the online training. So some of those schools that are coming on board, we have Ohio State University, just have signed a contract with them. We are in the contracting phase with Michigan Tech and with Alabama at Birmingham. We also have a lot of others in the pipeline that are interested and that are doing their proposal. So really from California to New England. So yes, we are growing. We're growing fast. The program just started a year ago with Penn State as our pilot and with the University of Tennessee at Knoxville as our second one. And now, like I said, we're growing exponentially every month. It seems like we'll be trying to bring on a new university, spoke and hub and spoke. The spokes that we're working with will be in conjunction with those university hubs. That could be community colleges, other universities, as well as apprenticeship programs within those regions. But really, we can work with you wherever you're at. So don't let geographics, stop you. If you have an interest in the program, you want to find out more, we're glad to talk to you about what we have in your area, what we might be bringing to your area, and how we can help you to build it so that you can build a pipeline for your company.
Mike, I think Mike clarified for me that Erie hasn't done a boot camp yet, but they will do boot camps. They're certainly involved in the ones at State College. So they've been great.
Yes.
Erie, both campuses have been great partners with us, and the faculty there have been a huge help to us. So, so I've reviewed all the resources. There's tons of help that we can give you if apprenticeship and work-based learning seem like a great option for you. I hope after Nat talked, you're inspired, because certainly they're doing it the right way. It's inspiring to me to hear such a great how that they've developed this program and how much support they provide to their apprentices, because that's really important. So is there any more questions?
I see Jim Pierce had asked if we are working with FEF, and Brian, yes, they are a very big partner with us on this project. They are running the internships on the engineering side. So through this funding, they always provide internships, but now they have more funding to do more internships with companies directly. And also they are working with us to build out in the high schools. So we have some high school curriculum that they're developing, and we already are doing workshops like our half days where high school students can come in to one of our hubs and work with those university professors and do a half-day workshop. But FEF is going to be providing more in-depth curriculum that'll be done in the high school itself, working directly with companies around that high school where a mentor can come over from one of the companies and work with that teacher to do a longer term worth of curriculum in metallurgy and in casting. So it's very exciting work that we're working with FEF, with JFF, a lot of acronyms, but everybody doing great work and pulling it together to fill the gaps, to fill the workforce.
Thanks, Lucinda. Jessica, I'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. With that, I want to make sure we give a great thanks to our invited speaker, Nat Jellyman, for her great presentation earlier today, and also our wonderful partners at IACME and other folks who are not on the call that are partnering and doing this great work. Check out the Metal for America website. Please, the contact information is up there. Reach out to us. And we will be sending out the recording of this, and you can check out all the recordings from the previous webinars on the link that I think Melissa put in earlier. Please do stay in touch. We are excited about this work. We hope you're excited about this work, and we are right on time. So have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.